Hi guys, Crystal here from ChristaCoDesign. Today we're making the Cora Cowl and we'll be using 3.25 millimeter US size 3 16-inch or larger circular needles. You'll need about 220 yards of a number 2 sport weight cotton yarn. I'm using We Crochet Shine in the color Grapefruit 2 skeins. We'll also need our yarn needle, measuring tape, scissors, and 1 stitch marker as we're working in the round, and we will need to mark the first stitch of our round. We're going to cast on 120, so I'll start with a slip knot and slide that on my needle. Here I'm going to demonstrate the short tail cast on. You can use any cast on method you like, and in the description I will link up a list of 4 easy ones to choose from. Regardless of the cast on you use, be sure not to cast on your stitches too tightly so you can easily insert your needle when you're knitting that first row. Okay, cast on to 120 or an even number. This will give us a 30-inch around circumference for our infinity scarf. So when you lay it flat, it'll measure about 15 inches wide. Okay, I am ready to join in the round, but since I'm using a long 40-inch cable, first I have to set up for magic loop. I have a separate tutorial for that I'll link up for you, but essentially I'm going to pull out a length of the cable in the center of the stitch, center of the cast on stitches here, and then I will join in the round at the tips once I have it set up. Okay, I prefer this easy join in the round. My yarn is coming from my right needle, and I'm going to insert my needle into the first stitch on my left needle, which happens to be my slip knot, and I'm just going to knit that first stitch, which will essentially join my 2 stitches into a circle. So now I can knit in the round. Okay, we're starting with seed stitch, but I'm going to pull out a length of cable here so I can move my needle. And then the next stitch will be a purl. Then we are going to knit the following stitch. Now when you're knitting from these cast on stitches, it can be pretty tricky. That's why, again, I was advising not to cast on too tightly. So we're just going to keep alternating that around, knit, purl for all of the stitches. Okay, here we are at the end of round 1. So we're going to take a minute to place our beginning of round stitch marker, and we'll just slide that on our right hand needle. And then we're working seed stitch. So I'm looking at a knit. So now I'm going to purl the first stitch. I'm looking at a purl. I'm going to knit the second, purl, knit, and repeat that around for round 2. After round 2 is complete, I will repeat round 1 and 2 again, and then I'll repeat round 1 one more time. So I'll have 5 rounds of seed stitch to start our cowl. Okay, we're finishing up our last round of seed stitch border here. And now we're going to start our 4-row repeat for a lace stitch. To make our lace holes, we're going to do a yarn over, and then we're going to knit the next 2 stitches together. And that's our repeat around for this entire round. Yarn over, knit 2 together. Okay, we're just finishing up our round 6 with our yarn over, knit 2 together here on the last stitches of the round. And for round 7, 8, and 9, we are just going to knit each stitch around. So I'll slide my stitch marker. The first stitch is a yarn over, so it's long and loose, that's normal. Knit that, slide it off, knit the next stitch, which is our knit 2 together, slide it off, and you can see our lace pattern coming. Just keep knitting each stitch for 3 rounds total. I'll just knit up a few more here on the yarn over knit 2 together stitches, as that's where you can really see our lace pattern develop. I'm finishing up round 7 here, our first round of knits after our lace round. Here we're starting round 8, which again is knitting each stitch around. And here I'm just finishing up round 9. So this is my third round of knits after I have done my yarn over knit 2 together. So when I finish this round, I'm just going to slide my stitch marker over, and then I'm going to start my 4-row repeat. Yarn over, knit 2 together, and repeat that around. The holes will line up, and then you'll do 3 rounds of knits after this one, and you'll keep repeating those 4 rounds for the height of your cowl. The finished height is about 9¼ inches tall. So you'll want to repeat this until you have about that 1/2 inch left for the seed stitch border. So we'll be doing another 5 rounds of seed stitch to finish it off. So you'll want to go to about 8½, 8.75 inches tall before you switch to seed stitch. Here I'm about halfway through. I've used 1 ball of my yarn and I'm going to join another. So I thought I'd take a minute to show you quickly how I join the yarn. There are lots of ways to do it, so please use the method you are most comfortable with. I simply drop the current yarn, leaving about 6-inch tail to weave in, pick up the new yarn and yarn over in it. Go ahead and knit a few stitches, and then I'll stop and tie a gentle knot between the 2 tails. And when I'm finished, I'll come back and weave those in. Okay, after you repeat your rounds 14 more times or till you get 8.75 inches, you'll want to do a round 1 repeat 1 more time, which is your yarn over, knit 2 together stitch. And then we're ready to work our seed stitch border. So we're just going to make 5 rounds in seed stitch, just like we started with. So I've knit the first one, which means it's time to purl, and then knit, and then purl, and keep repeating that around for this round. And remember, on the second round of seed stitch, you'll start opposite. You will make a purl if you're looking at a knit, and you'll make a knit if you're looking at a purl. Okay, I'm just finishing up my first round of seed stitch here. Slide my stitch marker over, and now I am looking at a knit, so I'm going to purl. Looking at a purl, so I'm going to knit, and I'll just keep repeating that around for this second round. Okay, now we are finishing up our 5th round of seed stitch border, and we're ready to do our bind off. We're going to bind off in pattern. So I'm looking at a knit. So then to keep in pattern, I would do a purl next. So I'll purl the first stitch, looking at a purl, so I'll knit next. Binding off, so I'm going to pull the first stitch over the second. I like to pull up a little on that to make sure it's not too tight. Now we'll do it again, purl next, bind off. So you would just keep doing this the way you would if you were going to work a round of seed stitch next. So if you're looking at a knit, you make a purl. If you're looking at a purl, you make a knit. And when you have 2 stitches on your right needle, you bind off by pulling the first stitch over the second. Make sure to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room there, as your bind off round is usually your tightest round. So we want to make sure they're loose. You could go up a needle size if you wanted to, but I usually just, again, pull up a little loose on that needle and try to keep it not too tight. And here I'm binding off my very last stitches. And I'll just pull up a long loop here, cut my yarn, then I'm going to thread my yarn needle, and I will weave in my ends right here, kind of flattening out this little jog we have from working in the round. So I'm going under here, under my bound off stitch, under 2 loops there, then around and back down into the stitch I came out of, which kind of makes it look like a little faux stitch there so it doesn't stand out as much. And that helps to straighten up that imbalance from knitting in the round. Then I'm just weaving in my ends as normal, following along with the stitch pattern. And I'll do that for all my ends. Then I'll block my cowl and it'll be ready to wear.